Hello and welcome, everybody. We're going to give it a couple minutes for some more people to join, but appreciate you taking some time with Marcus and I today. We'll give it one more minute and then we will get started. Marcus, while we're waiting for the group, what inspired you to start PageProof?
Well, actually, my background is in retouching and packaging and design and things. So I actually started life, well, not started life, but started my career with a computer science and psychology degree, and ended up not working in that space at all. So I worked for a retoucher, and it was just the to and fro. It was the back and forward, and having to get bicycle couriers and put a tube on the back of the bike courier's back with some artwork in it, and then we'd wait. Bicycle courier would come back a couple of hours later, and there was our proof. So that was the inspiration.
Nice. Well, that was unplanned, but I appreciate the answer, and I think we can dive into this. I know
Yeah.
people are on all different time zones, including Marcus joining us from New Zealand. So, thank you to Marcus for joining the Specright team today. Quick introduction: I'm Adam Armstrong. I'm our VP of Partnerships and Account Management at Specright. Been here for 10 years and have been very fortunate to work with a lot of our customers as well as a lot of our partners, including PageProof, which we've been working with for the last couple of years. And excited to spend some time with Marcus today. So before I go any further, Marcus, would love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm Marcus, as said. I'm founder and CTO of PageProof, and I head up the technical area of PageProof, but also do a lot of the on stage and the demonstrations. Very, very passionate about proofing. Have a great background in this area, so it's certainly an area that I love. So I'm very excited about the partnership that we have with Specright. It's really great to see two products that actually really complement each other in a space, and form a really great solution for customers.
Yeah, I cannot echo that more, and I think that we have seen what a seamless interaction it is between Specright and PageProof, and a huge benefit for companies. So the plan for today is to walk through a little bit of what we're seeing in terms of packaging and design challenges, and then how PageProof helps to drive change in those areas. Then we'll quickly get to the fun part, which is a live demo, show you a little bit of Specright, a little bit of PageProof, a little bit of PageProof in Specright, and then we'll bring it back to kind of highlight the proofing and artwork gaps that we've seen being solved, and would love to answer any questions from the group. You're welcome to enter them in the chat throughout, but we'll encourage you as we get towards the end here. So getting into the packaging challenges of today and what we've seen from the Specright side is, Specright is a cloud-based platform that enables companies to manage their product and packaging specifications, their formulas, ingredients, full bill of materials, all the components that go into a product. And what we frequently see is that data and the information related to those items for consumer goods and manufacturing companies are all over the place. And I'm sure everybody on the webinar are strong mathematicians and can see that the numbers on the right side add up to well more than 100%, which is because in this survey, people very clearly stated that their data and documents are in a bunch of different locations. And they're not just in one ERP system, they're not just in one PLM system, they are spread around. And so that problem certainly translates over to artwork and design files. And there are a number of negative impacts of kind of the data being in silos or disparate systems. But there are a lot of positive impacts from bringing that into a central source of truth that has automation and can enable communication and creative feedback in one place. And the data here, just to point out, is from an annual state of specification management survey that we do. So jumping kind of to what the downstream and upstream impact of having this disparate data is we saw that 18% of respondents said that they have frequent negative impact to their operations, specifically because of version control issues, and that 70% of respondents said they occasionally have issues. So almost 90% of companies are having issues related to version control. And we've noticed that the cost and impact of working off the wrong version is certainly heightened with artwork. The worst case is that you end up having a product recall, which is obviously extremely costly. A typical case is that there's costly reprints, there's wasted inventory, there's often scrapped product because of people working off of different versions. And then the best case scenario is that there's wasted time. And given the landscape and environment we all operate in right now, wasted time is not something we can afford. So with that, kind of jumping ahead, we can see that when artwork files and specs are in disconnected systems, that there's often the need to have duplicate data entry or to load a document into two different systems. So one thing that Specright and PageProof certainly solve together is being able to do that in one integrated location and creating that single source of truth. We also see there's often not a trail of the approvals and the comments. And if there is that trail, it's in some design system that the rest of the team members in marketing and operations and procurement and R&D don't have access to. And so bringing that trail into Specright is extremely valuable. And then lastly is just kind of embedding the workflows together and getting everybody on the same page. So the last thing I want to highlight before handing it over to Marcus is for those of you that aren't as familiar with Specright overall, we are a platform for kind of all the departments that you see here, and really a tool to bring everything from packaging specifications to certificates of analysis to supplier documents together into one specification management location like you see on the right. And highlighting the marketing group up top, being able to have designers and graphics team and graphics partners working together in the same location is a tremendous value. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Marcus to tell you a little bit about PageProof.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So PageProof is all about gathering feedback. So we are embedded inside of Specright. So I'm going to do you a demonstration of PageProof in a standalone environment. But PageProof is actually embedded inside of Specright so that you can see everything together, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. But let's just focus on what does PageProof do. So we let you get feedback and approve your artwork files. That is our main reason for living. So it can be on your creative and packaging, anything to do with what you're working on. So the types of customers that we have using the platform, if we just go to the next slide. Yeah, so the types of customers that are using PageProof, this is a subset of those, and they're using PageProof for the packaging, they're using it for artwork, any sort of promotional material to go along with any of that work that goes upstream and downstream from the packaging process. So some really great brands using the PageProof platform. We are a 10-year-old company, so there's a good history there of people using PageProof in ways, particularly in packaging, which are really, really, really exciting. So some of the features that you'll see in PageProof, it's all about support of all of the file types that you work on. So as Adam mentioned, packaging doesn't just come in one standard file format. Packaging is done in different tools and things. So we support every kind of file format that you would use in the packaging workflow, and all the Adobe suite, right through anything that you're using to do that. We give you some really basic features for just getting in, zooming in, marking up changes, commenting, measuring, these sorts of things. So those are the very basic tools that we have inside of PageProof, and they're driven by these automated workflows. So just to eliminate that, who's got the proof and who's holding us up and where is it and all those sorts of things, the workflow is driven out of an automated workflow that sends out reminders to people. And there's even a checklist inside the product for people as well. So they know, oh yes, I need to be able to do these checklist items that says, hey, check the barcodes, check the QR code, make sure it's the right list, and all those sorts of things can be popped up on screen as well. And then there are advanced features which are packaging specific. So things like getting and looking at the color separations. There's something that usually a specialist would do with some specialist tools. You've got the person who sits down the hallway, and that's the packaging specialist. Let's send them the file at the end of the process so they can check the color separations. Well, actually, you can do it inside of PageProof. You can just pop in and have a look, and we'll see that in the demo in a moment. But it's also being able to select colors, check the barcodes and QR codes, spell check. There's just a whole range of very specialized tools that you can use inside PageProof to really narrow in and make sure your packaging is the best it possibly can be. So as Adam pointed to, the last thing you want is a reprint and a recall of your packaging. So let's spend the time using the tools to actually get it as accurate as we possibly can. So that's the sort of the area of that PageProof really, really shines in. And what I'd like to do is actually go into a live demo. There's nothing like a live demo in a webinar. So I'll take the time to jump in and show you what that looks like. Some of the returns that you'll get from using PageProof, we've measured over 10 years. We've seen some of the things that we can really bring from a return point of view. So, not having to spend a lot of time doing rework. Your team, as they use the platform, will understand a lot about the things that they regularly need to be changing, and that rework reduces, increasing the productivity of your team because you're now in one platform looking at one piece of artwork and you're all commenting on the same piece of artwork. And then just simply being able to move that proof through its life cycle quickly and efficiently with automated reminders moving things along. It really does make a big difference. And overall, you get a reduction in the number of rounds of proofs that you need to go through. So you might now be doing 6 rounds. We'll get that dropped down to, to 2, possibly 3 rounds. So you get a real reduction in the number of versions that you'll need to go through to get your stuff signed off. So let's jump in and take a look at a live demo of PageProof. So I'm going to just switch screens now and we'll have a look at PageProof here. So let me just do that for you now. On screen, we should have the PageProof proofing interface. Okay, so this is the PageProof proofing experience. This is what you would see inside Specright, and you'll see this as part of the overall platform that we're talking about. The idea here is that we can take your packaging file, pop it into the PageProof interface. Very simply, PageProof has on the left-hand side a set of tools that you can use to zoom in, mark up, comment on the work. In the center, we've obviously got the artwork with a couple of options, which I'll talk about. And then when you're finished, there's a big green button in the bottom corner, so your reviewers go over to the finished button and they would say, in some cases, approved, or I have changes. So you have options here for when you have finished doing your work. So let's dive in and look at a couple of the features that you'll see. So firstly, the tools on the left-hand side. So down the side here, you'll see we've got like these pen tools, so you can choose a different type of pen. There's one here for just putting markup on the proof, one for highlighting copy, being able to suggest text changes, and then a freehand drawing pen for just drawing on the proof if you want to. And then finally, a general comment for when you just want to place a comment with no markup. And I'll give you an example of how you would use these sorts of tools. So if I grab this drawing pen, I can draw around a piece of the artwork here. So I can just simply go over the top here, comment pane rolls out from the side, and inside this comment pane, I can very simply come in and say, please make red, and then add that comment onto the proof. Inside these comments, you're also able to do things like go and mention people. So if you want to mention somebody else in the comment and draw their attention to that, you can do that. We support emojis, attachments, all sorts of things inside these comments as well. So you've got the options for taking care of that. And it's really, really simple. If you see some copy that you want to change, you can use the highlight pen. You can highlight over the copy inside of here. It will put that copy up into the comment, and then you can go and make the suggested changes inside of here as well. So you can say, actually, that's the way I would like that to be, and add that comment onto the proof as well. So we end up building up a set of comments that go back to the designer so they're able to go through and make those changes. Now, some of the other features here, of course, a zoom tool. So you can use the marquee zoom, for example. With the marquee zoom, you can select over an area and that will zoom up the artwork, and you can have a good look at the artwork in a much, much closer fashion. So we can go in and look at that. The other tools here for zoom, you've got these fine controls and major controls as well for getting into looking at the detail of that artwork. The magic tools that you see here, oh, actually, one more thing. There is the ability to rotate your artwork as well. So very important, obviously, for packaging, especially with flat packs. You want to be able to rotate so you can read the text on different parts of that panel as well. Magic tools, this brings a big wave of different tools inside of here, but I'll just show you a couple of highlights. Things like the ruler tool, where you can go in and measure elements. So I can say, well, how big is that? And actually, is that barcode? What size is that? And you'll see the ruler tool leaves these measurements up on screen, so you can go through and check things are the way that you expect them with the rule tool. So that's quite cool. The Magic Tools also brings other things like grid lines, so you can check alignment of your artwork. It's quite common, I think, for coming in and saying, well, is that all lined up? So you can bring in these grid lines and just make sure things are the way that you would expect. So you're super useful for that. But some of the great ones here, barcode and QR code scanner. So if I just hit the barcode scanner here, it's going to go off and look at the artwork, and it's going to highlight for me where the barcodes are. and the QR codes. Now, if I hover over these, I'm actually going to get the code type and the content. And if I click on it, I can copy that to clipboard and use elsewhere, or just create a comment around that particular barcode. So good support for that. Also supports QR codes. So if you have got QR codes on your artwork, it's pretty important to make sure that's going to the right place. So here we have the ability to just check that, and if you click onto it, it'll actually open that in a new tab for you, so you can make sure that before you go and print a million of these, that you have got the QR codes going to the right destination. So great for checking QR codes and barcodes on here. Now just hover over a couple of different things. Spell check's important. The ability here to import comments from a PDF. So if you do have someone who likes to work offline and you've given them a PDF and they put comments on that, you can actually import those comments directly into here as well. And then lastly, a color check. Now the color check is very cool. This lets you make sure that things are going to, so if you choose a background color, for example, you can make sure that your copy is going to be able to be read on certain backgrounds and things. So you can see we're going through and showing you with this color check to make sure everything from a contrast point of view is looking good. Right, so those are some of the tools specifically for packaging in that respect. There's a couple more things I want to show you here, and that would be color separation. So color sep is a feature on the center of the screen here. Click into color set mode. PageProof then takes you to a screen where you can see the color separation plates down the side. And if you go in, you can actually say, show me just this particular color plate. And you can go through and make sure the separations are going to work the way you want them. You can even blend them together if you want to. So you can go through and actually just start layering up the artwork as well. So some great options here for checking your color separations. And if you hover over the artwork, it's going to give you a breakdown of the ink density as well. So you can see your ink totals and the different areas of the ink and what percentage values these show. So great for your people who are into checking your color separations. One more thing here before we look at the compare screen. This is an info panel over on the left hand side. If you click on this info panel, pops up the measurements, and it gets into the file name and the file size and those sorts of things. So good information here. But if you scroll down, it shows you the fonts that are being used in the design. So you can make sure these are the correct fonts and the subfamilies as well. And then down the bottom, it's giving you overall what the colors are being used in this file. So some good technical information here on display as well. Last thing, we want to compare things against different artwork versions. So if you're working through going to different versions of your artwork, we keep the history here and it all sits under this version pop-up. So you can go back and look at previous versions and you can see the requests that were put on that previous version. So this is showing us version 1 of the proof, and then we can go back to version 2. Now, of course, what would be useful would be to see these side by side. So there is an icon here, which is the compare icon. You click on compare, and that puts the two pieces of artwork side by side on screen. So now you can compare version 1 against version 2, and you can do that visually if you want to, or you can use the Smart Compare feature in PageProof to overlay the two, and it's going to hover and show you the differences between the two files, which is really useful. There are a few options here, by the way. So this is using a way of checking the differences between two versions. There's also a slider here where you can slide between version 1 and version 2, and you can see the differences between the two pieces of artwork right before your eyes. So some great options here for checking your versions and checking a comparison between the two as well. So those are a lot of the features that PageProof brings. What I'd like to do now is get out of the demonstration and hand back to Adam to go to the next piece of the webinar.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. I think you gave the people what they wanted, Marcus, which was CM PageProof. I'm going to jump in to show a little bit of Specright and keep everybody waiting until we get to the highlight, which is PageProof inside of Specright. but I will share my screen now. And I'm going to start with this guy. So for those of you that are familiar with Specright, this homepage will look familiar. And for those of you that it's new to, this is the Specright homepage, which can be customized to each user. And depending on what department or function you're in, this dashboard on the homepage and the widgets on the right side are going to be customized to you. And all of the data in Specright, including details about your artwork, can be aggregated into reports and then put in dashboards so that you can look at how many items are pending review, how many new products have you released this year, what is the weights and materials and recycled content of your packaging, how many ingredients are you sourcing from a certain supplier, how many defects or non-conformances have a particular contract manufacturer had. All of that can kind of roll up into these reports. And then these tabs along the top, not going to walk through today, but certainly we can show you a deep dive on Specright another time. But Specrite's going to enable you to do everything from generating new product development briefs, running a project to become a finished good, and then all the elements of that finished good. And so if I look at this disinfecting bleach as a sample product, I'm going to be storing here all the details about this. And then within this finished product, I have my bill of materials. And the bill of materials is going to have a formula and a packaging BOM. And if I drill into the formula, I can see that it's made up of, in this case, two very simple ingredients. And then I can see my packaging items, and I have my closure and my bottle and my label. And then those may have individual materials that they're made of. And so this visual hierarchy is just a very easy way for you to see all of the elements in your bill of materials, including your artwork. So jumping over to something that is a little bit more familiar from what Marcus was showing is our favorite green pear fruit patch. And so this is just another view of a finished product. And within this finished product, I have my packaging specifications for this demo, showing that we've got a film, a carton, and a corrugated shipper. And I'm going to add a new connection from this finished product to an individual packaging specification. And so I'll jump over, and I could create a new spec. So if I'm creating a new packaging item of any of these types, or creating a new artwork spec, I could do that. But I actually already have my artwork here, and I'm going to say that it's a primary component, and I have one of those. So I've now added this artwork component to my bill of materials, and I can click into that particular artwork specification, which is going to open for me over here. And my specification tab with this PFPA 102, which I can see is V2 of this pear fruit patch artwork. On this artwork spec page, I can see information about it, including the print details. And this is going to be a combination of free text fields, drop down pick lists, as well as fields that are automatically populated from other areas in the system or from the PageProof integration. And you'll see that up at the top of this specification record, I have a sub tab for the PageProof details. And so there's a link to the actual proof link that I loaded in here previously, and then some of this information that's automatically brought along with it. And then here's the very familiar screen that Marcus showed you in PageProof, which is embedded right here in Specright. So similar to what Marcus was showing, and if I want to highlight text on this item and say, let's actually say locally organic sourced harvest, and I want to make a pin there, and I can zoom just like Marcus was doing on his. So all of that can be done right here inside of Specright. I could expand this so you can see it a little bit larger, but we're still staying within the Specright system. And I got my other artwork files that I've loaded here. So I'm going to jump out just to general PageProof. So I think the important parts here are that all the things that Marcus showed you that you could do in PageProof, you can do that on the PageProof site, or you can do it embedded here in Specright. And we're not going to walk through the full routing of a new proof, but if I come and grab from my computer this PDF, then I'll call it, pair packaging update, and I'm going to create a collection. I'm going to share it with my team, and then I could add a new workflow or an existing workflow. I'm going to say I'll create a new workflow, and I'm actually going to be the approver, but I could add multiple as I wanted there. And then I'm going to send this collection out similar to how it would operate inside of Specright. And this is then going to trigger an email notification to me. And I can see here, and I'll share this tab, and that I got that email from inside of Specright to view the collection. If I click this, it's going to take me back into the proof here inside of PageProof in Specright, and I can add comments, I can approve, I can route it. I'm just going to say, looks great. Thanks, Marcus. And that will approve this item. We've got some celebratory confetti, and then all of that is then going to be fed into Specright, marking the status as approved. And you can see up here that it's gone along these steps to final approval. So definitely, a lot more in terms of kind of what you can do with the artwork and information in Specright, but the key points are that all of the great things that you can do in PageProof are now embedded into Specright, and you can go straight from your packaging and artwork specifications to your artwork approvals, and then feed that data back. So I'm going to hop out of the demo. Hopefully that was informative. Maybe as we pull the slides back up here, Marcus, anything that you wanted to add or highlight from kind of showing Specright and PageProof together?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is just seeing the power of the two up on screen. I think that's really important to be able to look at all of the information around the bill of materials and all of the things that you should know about a particular product, and then being able to see on screen inside the same product, you can inside a spec, right? Hey, here's the actual packaging that's going to go out and front this product out into the consumer market. Is everything right? And all of the information that you need to check is right there. You can look in Specright and see, okay, here's all the ingredients and all the things we need to have, and et cetera, et cetera. Zoom down. Oh, there's the artwork. Are we representing this correctly? Is it accurate? Is it right? So I think the power of those two tools together on one screen is invaluable. It's pretty cool. I really like to see that, for packaging customers and just anyone who's working with that sort of in that environment. It's always been a hard place to be in. The solutions for that have always, as you said at the start, you've had to do packaging over here, you've had to do bill of materials over here, had to do this here. There's tools everywhere. So I think it's great to see it all in one place.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Marcus. And as a business user that participates in workflows like this, the ability to have that information in the same location, where I'm doing my typical job in, procurement or R&D, and seeing the artwork and design and being able to give feedback on that, but not having to be in the designer's tool, is really valuable. And I think, streamline, collaborate, align, very clear. Maybe jump into one last kind of set of highlights, and then we'll get into Q&A. So if anybody has questions, please post those in the chat, and we'll do our best job of answering those. But the feedback that we've gotten from companies using Specright and PageProof is just that it increases the speed of feedback loops. Once again, being in the same location, plus using a powerful tool like PageProof increases that pace of feedback. The ability to have kind of total visibility, including that trail of changes and comments, and enabled for audit history. Having one source of truth, and it may be a cliche phrase, but I hear daily complaints about having different data in different locations, and it's just the nature of the world that we're living in right now digitally. But as much as you can make that one source is highly valuable, and then ultimately lead to time savings with everybody, by simplifying these workflows and manage everything in one place. So hopefully that gave everybody a good flavor of how Specright and PageProof together can help you streamline your work. And I will open it up for any questions that we have.
Awesome. Thank you both. I will hop in with some questions from the audience. All right. So the first question is, how long does it take to get up and running with PageProof and the Specright integration?
Well, you kick it off, Marcus.
Yeah, I was going to say, so PageProof itself, to get that up and running, if you already have Specright and you want to add PageProof to it, the technical nuts and bolts of getting that up and running is around 7-day mark. So we can have that up and running pretty quickly because you already have Specright set up. So adding PageProof is relatively straightforward to get done. So that's from that side. Adam, on the Specright side, if somebody doesn't have either, or they have PageProof and they want to add Specright.
Yeah. So it very much depends on all the things that a company is doing with Specright, and how many different business processes are going to be managed, and the state of your current data. So typical overall Specright implementations are 3 to 6 months. and the page proof portion of that, like Marcus said, can be as quick as a week if you're already set up in Specright. If you're not set up, want to make sure it's configured to your needs. So maybe a few weeks of that overall implementation is for specifically the Specright page proof setup.
Awesome. All right, Marcus, this one is for you. So how is PageProof differentiated from similar proofing tools?
Yeah, so the big thing about PageProof is the packaging part of it. We have specialist tools which you've seen inside of there for packaging workflows. We have a packaging background, so I just gave a really quick touch across the top of the surface there on the features. It does go very deep for those packaging workflows. We also have integrations directly into the Adobe desktop tools. So you can actually take that artwork markup that we've seen there, and that can overlay on top of the designer's artwork. So some of these tools are not available in any other tools. And I guess the other big advantage is PageProof is integrated with Specright. That's the key there. So that's actually the killer key, is that the product is right there inside of Specright. So you've got that, and that's a big part of it. But yes, I think the focus on the specific features that we have, and one more thing, zero training needed. PageProof is extremely simple to use on the surface, so you don't need training to get in, grab the pen, place the markup. And a lot of other tools you need to go through training because they're far more complex. But the beauty is, as you dive into PageProof, it becomes more and more of the features reveal themselves. So those would be the advantages, I would say.
Awesome. And then for design teams that are currently using Illustrator for their packaging artworks and files, are they able to upload these Illustrator files, or do they need to convert them to a PDF to do that?
Yeah, so we support the native file types. So you can put Illustrator files, InDesign, Photoshop, everything you can think of, you can put into the platform. And we support all of those for proofing. So yep, you can stay inside the native tools. In fact, you can be inside of Illustrator and say, send this to PageProof from inside of Illustrator. So you don't even need to go outside if you don't want to. You can stay inside of Illustrator and send your proofs from there.
Awesome. All right. We have some more questions coming in. All right. Can you also measure the height of text and the distance between text in the PageProof integration?
Yeah, so you can, we're not going to give you the actual glyph heights or anything. You can go and you can zoom in, use the measurement tool to actually get the measurements. But if you want the point size particularly, we're not giving the point sizes at this point. But look, there are features being rolled out to PageProof every week. So it is something that I anticipate that we will have going forward.
Awesome. And then are there limitations on the number of products that can be housed in Specright and then housed in PageProof?
No limitation on the number of products housed in Specright. You can go wild with that.
Yeah, and it's the same with PageProof. There's no limits there.
Awesome. And then kind of similar going along with that, can separate or multiple proofs be associated with a single product in Specright, or is that limited for PageProof with the proof per item? That makes sense.
You can have multiple proofs connected to one item. The way that I showed it on the screen there, one is it was PageProof embedded on that particular kind of PageProof sub tab, and that can be set up differently in your instance of Specright as needed. And so the way that we had it in that demo is the fields above were tied to one proof in terms of link and version number and approval. If you were going to have multiple artwork items or multiple proofs tied to one individual record in Specright, then we would just kind of configure the surrounding elements of the embedded page proof a little bit differently. But you can have multiple connected to one.
Awesome. And then I see Paul Gray, he commented that he's going live with this integration in the coming weeks, which is super exciting. Someone else asks if there are current customers using the systems together. So I think that's a great segue.
There are current customers. We have multiple customers and teams using the tools together. New ones being added frequently, and excellent customers like Paul Gray and Central Garden and Pet going live shortly.
Awesome. Well, that's all our questions for today. Thank you again, Marcus and Adam. That was awesome. It was great to see that live demo. And thank you everyone for joining. I will be sending up a follow-up email after the end of this webinar with the recording, as well as some additional resources for you all. If anyone wants to hear more about PageProof or Specright and that integration, feel free to follow up and we can give you some more information. But thank you all again.
Thank you, Kennedy. Thank you, Marcus.